Hello, universe. Welcome to Off the Rails with Tom and Mark.
Welcome back, universe, to Off the Rails with Tom and Mark, episode 32, our first ever 32nd episode of our second season.
Brought to you by Caldwell Banker Home Sale Realty and Universe of the Internets.
All right. Hey, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, market's always good with Roy, or maybe a career in real estate, email Roy at cbhsr.com, or give him a call. Nate, you remember where to call him?
I don't know his number.
414-235-0763. They'd love to be your go-to for all your real estate needs. And today we have a very special guest. We have Josh Bachynski from the podcast Comic and Philosopher versus Philosopher, correct?
Comic versus Philosopher, yeah.
Comic versus Philosopher, and we're going to be dealing with that. You are the philosopher half of that podcast.
Yes, I am.
Excellent. You got a lot of other stuff. You do a SEO show?
Yes, yeah.
You have a PhD and master's in Don't Be Evil, Google Secret War.
I do. It's on iTunes somewhere, apparently.
Yes, you are also the author of The Zombies.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 black belts, so laugh or he's going to kick your ass. And co-piloting with me this week is your friendly neighborhood Hobbit, world famous comic Nate Ford. Hey, Nate.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to the driver's seat with me. We take a philosophical look at Mark Zuckerberg wearing whiteface, lying about COVID, lunch shaming bars. But first, Nate, you introduce it. What do we like to do?
We like to do the hot seat.
We like to do...
It's the hot seat! Wow, yeah! It's the hot seat! Hot seat! The hot seat with Tom and Mark!
You got sound effects on your podcast?
That are this
Wow.
long and obnoxious.
Yes. All right. So the hot seat of questions I think of. And first question of the day is something that happened to me. What is the best thing to say when somebody slams your hand into a car door? Molly.
Ouch.
She doesn't even remember. There's a story
Yes,
behind
I do
it.
remember.
Right here.
It was
Right
an
there.
accident.
She slammed my hand into the car door, and I said, open the door, open the door, open the door, open the door. And like a woman, she just got all feminist and said, I'm done taking orders from a man.
I did not.
She didn't even look.
Listen, what you're not telling people is that you were leaning in the front seat of the car with your hand on the side of the door. I closed the back door. I had no way of knowing that you had your hand stuck in between the back door and the car
Well, what
frame.
took the 3 minutes for you to open the door when I was pinned there?
I
To
don't know.
teach you a lesson.
So that's my question. What should I have said when my hand was slammed in the door?
I probably would have said something like, holy fuck.
She caught you reaching for the back door, so I don't know what the appropriate
Yeah.
probably an apology at that point would have been the best thing, probably.
I was
You got
trying to
what you
sneak the
deserve.
one in the stink, and she slammed my hand in the car door.
Wow.
Yeah. They should teach you.
The dangers of that kind of stuff in the car, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in so much pain you couldn't talk, the words just can't come out of your mouth?
Yes. And Molly
correctly?
laughed at me so hard the other day. I walked behind the car and hit my shin again on the trailer hitch.
Yeah. And
Hey,
so,
Wendy?
so there's sometimes you just can't say anything. It's just ah! Are you
Just
having a
a
stroke? Yeah, I'm having a stroke of pain.
Yeah. And Molly thinks it's hilarious. I got to get rid of that car. That's all that's to it. Okay. On that note, have you ever tried to use the Force?
I have at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a stapler on the other side of the counter, and my coworker was on that side, so I just had my hand out, and and he finally gave me the stapler. Like he saw my look at the stapler, and he gave it to me. I go,
So it
I used the
worked.
force. Yeah, the force worked within
Force
this one.
confirmed. Boom.
I always do it when the doors automatically open. I always kind of give it a force push. You've never tried to just use it to see, like, maybe I do have telekinesis? Yeah?
Oh, I definitely have. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're doing audio. The knot's not helping as much as you might think. Dumbest way you hurt yourself. Me, I took my hand off Molly for 1 second, and she slammed my hand in a car door. Nate's thinking.
Want to hear mine?
Yeah, let's hear yours, Molly.
I just hooked my finger trying to tie a knot in a fishing hook.
After making fun of me. I may have hurt myself. I don't know. I just did this right before the show. I was using the bathroom, and I went to lift the toilet seat, and I don't know what scratched me, but I immediately put it in my mouth like you do. And I'm like, oh, that was dumb.
Dumbest way I've hurt myself is I took 3 black belts. That's the dumbest way I hurt myself.
Yeah,
I think.
There's some danger there. Yeah.
Yes.
How do you get more than one black?
That's what you do.
Fight Mike Tyson right away.
AB, start. You're 8. Stay there.
You're 8. You're doing the backflip.
Yes. Yeah.
Nate, you hurt yourself, dumb. Come on.
I've done a lot of stupid things. One was also at work. I should quit this job and just stick to comedy. Although that's hurtful too, a lot of times, but mentally hurtful. But I was telling a person that, hey, I just mopped the floor. Be careful. And so I went around to go to the bathroom, and I slipped on where I just mopped and fell down after telling a customer, hey, be careful. And I go ahead and just do it. And so that was fun.
Right.
And the customer saw the whole thing, so it was a beautiful moment.
I got a couple philosophical questions here for our philosopher.
Ooh.
In the word scent, like smelling scent, is the S or the C silent?
Is that philosophical, or is that like a...
I think it's philosophical.
It's esoteric. It has no answer. We'll argue
Molly,
over
look
it forever.
up esoteric and send.
We'll argue about it forever, and there'll be no conclusion. People will write dissertations about it and waste taxpayer dollars and make the humanities look even worse than it currently is. Yes, it is a philosophical question. Ding, 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 ding.
All the letters are silent. It's all about the smell.
Okay. I think it's just dealer's choice. What was the best thing before sliced bread?
bread?
Bread. And then slice came along? Molly, I like your answer.
Thanks.
Before sliced bread. Ooh, we got a stump
Fire.
on there. Fire?
Yeah.
Bread came after fire. You need fire to make bread most of the time.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Beer?
Ooh, you get the ding. There you go. This guy wins.
Yes.
Nate, you're down 1-0.
Ah,
Oh, I didn't know this was a competition. Wow, this is like my show here. Jeez.
Here we go. First celebrity crush, and no one would ever guess mine.
Oh.
Mine was Olympic gold medal figure skater Christy Yamaguchi.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that though.
Elizabeth Shue, Adventures in Babysitting.
ooh,
Okay.
yeah. Winnie Cooper.
Winnie Cooper. Ooh, that's a good one, Nate.
Mm.
All right. How much toilet paper do you leave on the roll before you bring in another roll to be replaced? Or do you leave it just for the next person to figure out?
Is it Taco Tuesday?
Doesn't matter. You're done, but there could be one spin on it, a couple spins. Do you?
You got to plan this. You got to plan ahead, man. This is
well, it's for the next person. It's not for you. This is more.
Who knows?
Nice.
If it's Taco Tuesday, if there's
Tuesday.
Chipotle involved, you might have to plan ahead.
I did this for Molly because there was a little bit of toilet paper, and I just came and set a roll next to the almost spent roll for her because I'm a gentleman.
I am sometimes lazy. I let the other person,
deal with it.
Panic for a second.
Because you should check on that before you sit down, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's I always check. That's the thing.
You make sure there's toilet paper and the seat is down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's your fault, right?
Or if there's a cat nearby,
You and cats. How many days without food would it take for you to eat a raw worm?
2 hours.
A tequila worm, like a worm at the bottom of a tequila bottle?
I didn't mention that. I guess you could go with that.
I ate one right now. I just right before the show, I popped one in my mouth. No.
All right.
No.
Have you ever gone to a movie alone?
I much prefer that.
You go to movies alone?
Oh, yeah.
Really, Nate?
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad now.
Why?
Enjoy.
You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have that person like whispering, "Hey, what just happened? Who's that?"
So how many no's? How many no's does it take on asking a girl out for a date before you just decide that you go to the movie alone?
I get rejected all the time, so I just, I'll just beat it to the punch. Just go by myself. Maybe I'll meet somebody there. You never know.
The disappointment.
You never know.
Or maybe they now let you pick your seats. You should just sit next to someone else that's alone and hope it's a woman. You could fall in love that way.
It's exactly what I do. Either I sit right behind them or up to the right.
Nate goes and sits by himself and cuts a hole in the bottom of the popcorn just in case someone asks to share.
Wait, Molly comes out of left field with this.
Wow.
She's sweet and innocent. Or she's gone to
movies. Let them know my trade secrets, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I mean, you just traumatized me the first time we met, so I figured I'd warn everyone else.
When did you two go to a movie?
It was a long time.
I didn't know they had mushrooms in popcorn. What the? What's this?
Ow!
The salt, it burns.
Let go.
Yeah, Molly's got cold
salt
hands
is burning.
too. We've been doing a lot of gardening too. She'll pull it out by the root, dude.
Yeah.
That sounded Canadian. The root. Is the rut on the roof? On the roof?
We are in Wisconsin, so we're basically Canada. We're the soft oleo of Canada over here. So.
Oh.
Canada adjacent.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're Canada
okay.
Light. We're Aldi's brand Canada.
Canada Light. All right. Cool.
Yeah, we'll tell you what it's all about. Wendy's Canadian, and she's watching.
Sorry, I didn't know that you guys were Canadian.
Oh, we're kind of Canadian. Last time you stayed up all night and greeted the sun.
Oh.
I believe I did it last fall at our new place. At a bonfire or fire.
I work the graveyard, so therefore I do it almost on a daily basis.
You work at a graveyard or you work the graveyard shift?
Graveyard's his hobby.
Both. I work on the graveyard shift at the graveyard.
Wow.
He kills it so much on stage.
Graveyard
they call
called
it a graveyard.
And if you say it 3 times fast in the mirror, something
then I disappear. Somebody else takes my place during the daytime.
Whoa.
And
we need a reality show of this.
It's a magical world I live in.
Ooh, Lori says last night.
Hobbit.
Hi, Lori.
Lori was up last night. Oh, I don't get to see Lori's comments. Bummer. All right, lamest thing people try to pass off as dessert. And this was a weird neuron that fired in my brain and made me remember one time my grandma had tuna fish jello.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah, any Jello mold.
Jello in general?
My grandma used to make
the
Jello
mold that you put like whatever into it.
with carrots in it. It had carrots, like
Ugh.
Oh my.
shaved carrots.
Exactly. That
Yeah,
You guys are out of Canada. That's it. Wisconsin
I
is
know.
out.
I know. Well, my grandma's from Indiana. She's
okay.
in Indiana, and
Indiana,
Nate is
home of the KKK, Molly. I
Yeah.
always give her family crap for that.
I'm in lovely Boise, Idaho,
Okay.
land of the potatoes.
Ah, yes.
Okay, we do a podcast. How many trains are going to come in?
I told them that when we were doing this, and so
Okay, I think
Scheduled
anything
around
with
it.
raisins is ruined too for a dessert.
Yeah. Any kind of fruit.
Fruit? Yeah.
Like strawberries as a dessert. I don't know.
Strawberry shortcake, though. Would you go with that?
Sure. Or
That's
strawberries with cream or strawberries with whipped cream, sure. But just like, here's some pineapple, I don't know.
It's almost lazy in a way. Like, oh, I forgot to bring the dessert, so
but if
I
you
just,
pick
I
up
just
one
bought
of
some fruit and whipped cream. There you go.
those tubs of like the strawberry fruit dip, the cream cheese fruit dip, that counts, right?
I
Not
would
if it's in a
think so,
tub.
sure.
If it's homemade, then I'll give it to you.
So take it out of the tub and put it in a
Now, if they make that kind
bowl
of
so it looks
that
homemade.
kind of cooking sheet with
There you
some sort of filling, and then the
Okay.
Sure.
All right. We got a couple announcements before we get going here. Destination Dino Liam, I have to change the date because our comedy event is on a day that I am standing up in a wedding. So it will not be October 24th. It'll be around there. Alex gave, what was it, 16 months notice, and I finally got a notification that I have to go fitted for a tux. I totally forgot.
Mhm.
So we're going to be taking safety precautions with videos, with the mask, how you get your drinks in between for Destination Dino Liam, Childhood Cancer Foundation. We're going to have some comedians there. It's going to be great. Everything goes to that organization. Actually, we're talking to Chris tomorrow about Twisted Dreams Film Festival. Molly has watched all of her allotted films. We might be doing it digitally. Molly, you want to take that over? You know more than me.
I don't know how they're going to do the digital part of it. I just know that I've seen the short films and that they're amazing. Although this might be a great thing because it's going to open it up to even more people who are interested. I mean, people outside of Wisconsin that are interested going to and seeing these great films.
Yep, Wisconsin's largest horror film festival. We have a new interview show coming out. We have a movie coming out. Molly and I are getting ready to film that. Got a lot going on. So, all right, Molly, start bringing up. Have you seen the Mark Zuckerberg picture? Yeah, Josh has seen it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there's a little philosophical thing here that I wanted to ask you about because philosophy is pretty much means you're a good thinker, right? It's the Go ahead, take over there.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt. I'm Canadian. I'm too polite. Okay. It's the root. It comes from two Greek words, philos and sophos. Mm-hmm. So philos or philia is the friendship love, or the friendship love of sophos, which is wisdom. So it's a lover of wisdom is what philosopher is supposed to be. Whether that means you're a good thinker or not, I'm not sure, but means you love wisdom, and that's what you're seeking.
Seeking wisdom. All right, Molly, you got that up?
Yep.
Excellent.
You didn't star this one, so I didn't have it up ahead of time.
I apologize.
By the way.
We're trying something new here. So check him out. He's on his $12,000 surfboard.
Oh, my goodness.
In Hawaii. Look at his face. He looks like a mime.
That's all sunscreen?
Does he wear like a mask?
No, that's sunscreen.
I think the false human face he wears has fallen off, and now we're seeing his
Oh,
true visage, I believe.
that
Yeah,
could be
that's-
true.
Sasquatch photo in the wild. Like,
I could see
turns-
that.
looks over.
He's not surfing. That has a motor on it.
No,
Little
That's
known
the
fact.
controller. Yeah, that's the controller in his hand. Yeah, yeah.
that's cheating.
Little known fact. He's not even on the water. That's all green screen, and he's miming.
Molly, you are going to have to handle all the comments because they are coming in super late for me. Okay.
Ron Pertee, the Joker, went surfing.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, I'm not getting those comments, but there has been rumors that there's something going on with StreamYard today. No big deal. Pampers. Anyways, what if sunscreen came in a darker shade?
Like oh boy.
Like a dark brown.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How do you answer something like that without
I know. I was
crossing
thinking-
over a line? Like maybe, well,
You just have
like
to
for
get
people with the same tone of skin, I guess, if you will,
Mhm.
that would be beneficial, I guess.
So do
Or-
you mean it stays on your skin in that shade, or do you mean it blends in with your skin after you rub it in?
Like blend in.
That was an either or. I
Well,
didn't know.
No.
I don't know what. Is it this
Yeah.
one or this one? Yes.
Yes. no.
What?
Nate does that a lot. No, it
Oh,
looks
okay.
like Mrs. Doubtfire who just stuck his head in a pie.
Ah,
So, people are more pissed off, though, that he, for some reason, I don't know how we're going to link this to philosophy, but that's not my job. He doesn't have to
Watch
do the
me.
14-day quarantine to enter Hawaii.
yes, of course not, because he's one of the rich. He's one of the 1%. They don't live by the same rules that we do. They
So
run the
is-
planet. We're just their slaves. I mean that literally.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to get into some of your gripes, too, I read about. We got some good ones coming up.
You've read about my gripes?
I'll just say the word Google once. And
oh yes. Oh yes, of course.
okay.
I guess I am on the record for that one in numerous ways.
I did a little bit of research, so
Oh, that old chestnut.
yes, that one.
Okay.
Now here's something maybe we could go. Molly just was on the COVID, what was that, 14-day quarantine?
Yeah.
So here's a boy causing a restaurant to shut down because he didn't want to go to work. He's a busboy, and he lied about being in contact with COVID. So now who's on the hook for that?
That's a
So the
tough
whole
one.
restaurant had to shut down because he wanted a day off.
Yeah, to take that safety precaution for sure. Because, it's like maybe get a doctor's note next time. I don't know. Or like, let's have proof of having COVID. But because of how everybody's in a panic mode, I don't think you really need to have evidence of it. You just say it and people will like, oh, I'm backing away.
Okay. So my philosophical question is, he technically did not know he didn't have it at the time. So is he
Okay.
truly telling a lie if there is a possibility that he could have it?
Well, if he thinks he's lying,
That,
then
Okay.
yes, an intentional mistruth is a lie.
but he could have been wrong. He might have it.
But intentionally trying to mislead is the lie,
Okay.
is the part that makes it a
It's
lie. Yeah, I feel for the busboy because I've had that job before, and it is a thankless job, as
Mhm.
as I'm sure you all know. It's really tough right now. But if he thought he even vaguely had it, he was safer not to go to work.
No,
one
he
hand, it's
admitted
gonna-
that he just wanted off of work. He didn't know that the whole place was going to get shut down.
He didn't know it wasn't either.
Yeah. I guess. So, all right.
Yeah, that's
Molly,
a bad move.
bring up the lunch shaming one. We'll do one more of these before we get on with the interview here.
Okay.
Before
Ron
we
said,
get on with the
I'm guessing he's talking about the Zuckerberg thing. That's like
Yeah.
Tom Cruise not having to quarantine when he got to England so they could shoot Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
1,442.
442. Yeah, what one are they on now?
All right, so here
How impossible
is
are these missions? They keep,
Kenny keeps
Yeah.
15
doing
missions
it.
are impossible. I think you guys are in the wrong job.
They're obviously not.
Yes.
So California has a rule that if you're a bar, you have to close unless you serve food.
Yeah.
So Molly, if you want to bring up that picture, it's
Same
under.
way with Idaho.
This one's called lunch shaming.
I got you.
So Lafayette came out with a $1 menu, and they're serving lunch now. You got that up there, Mo? Excellent. So they are serving house chips. They are serving a piece of meat.
This one?
Yeah, hold on. I'm all
That
over
looks
the
like
place here. There you go. I don't know if you can make that bigger, but yeah, just a few grapes. You can
Ooh.
get smallest piece of cheesecake in Buffalo, or you can get 9 French fries for $1.
Wow.
I like how it counts it out, like the count from Sesame Street.
9.
So you got 9
French
fries. So apparently that's not flying anymore in California. I wonder why.
I wonder why. Yes.
But this bar is screaming lunch shaming. Isn't lunch shaming against the law in California? Who's to tell me that's not a lunch?
That's funny.
The government there. That's who.
I suppose. Well, I mean,
Is
I
it
give
really
Molly
a thing
9
called
grapes.
food shame, like lunch shaming? Is that
Yeah.
really a thing?
I give Molly 9 grapes in her bowl every morning, and she's fine.
Is that through the cage or?
Well, if she's good, I give her, an extra
Sorry,
good cake.
I'm getting a really painted picture between you two.
We can do a trick. I can put one in my mouth, and she can gently take it.
Aha.
That'd be good.
Okay.
She's a
All
good
right.
girl.
You can sleep on the couch.
All right, it's fine. Get more action.
I was wondering how far this was going to go. I was waiting for some reaction here.
Some reaction. All right. So let's do a little interview. All right. Tell us about your comic versus philosopher, a little bit about the concept.
Sure.
With that.
So I started the show, I don't know, a few months ago. And I do it with the wonderful Phil Lebovitz, who's he's actually comedy royalty. He knows Mark Maron. He's worked with Jason Scott Alexander.
Wow.
He's worked with Steve Carell. He's worked with a lot of big names. So I was very happy to get him on the show. And it's a fake debate show. Well, I put it together because it seems to me that comedians and I don't know, Nate, if you want to agree or disagree, but it seems to me that comedians and philosophers are kind of kindred spirits. And they're both trying to figure out the human condition and human nature and kind of what's going on. Whereas I want to drone on about it in a boring way for hours and hours, and you want to make it funny. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, well, clearly everyone at every point in history has stopped their work and wondered, I wonder who's wiser, the comic or the philosopher? And so I made a show to answer the age-old question, who is wiser, the comic or the philosopher? And insert hilarity.
Yeah.
I try and seriously go through a topic, and Phil does his best to get me off track and to make me laugh and to just say the most inane things. And we've had many let's just say that we've had wars against little people. I don't know why.
I heard that one.
I don't know what Phil's problem is with little people, but I don't know if he was childhood trauma at some kind of circus, like carnies attacked him or something. Yeah. I don't know what
you never
it was.
Take on a fight you think you can lose.
Right, exactly. The Oompa Loompas came cartwheeling out and kicked him in the shins. I'm not really sure what happened, but I'm trying to be the straight man. I'm trying to be the straight-laced one. I'm trying to be politically correct. And Phil he's acting. It's all an act. He's pretending to be
satirical.
It's completely satirical. It's completely a farce. I do try to make serious philosophical points that I think are very important to hear in this day and age, because we don't really have philosophers anymore. The closest thing that we have to philosophers is Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, yeah, and as a comedian, right? Because the only people who are really doing philosophy in our society right now are comedians, but they're trying to make things funny. Sometimes they say stuff that's poignant that makes sense, and no shade thrown at all towards either of those guys, Neil deGrasse Tyson or anybody else for that matter. He's a great physicist, don't get me wrong, but he's not a philosopher. And there's a lot of stuff he said recently on Cosmos where I'm throwing fries, one of my 9 fries, I'm throwing that out the TV. Yeah. My wife, because there's not everything has been figured out, not everything has been discovered. And the only thing that solves a lot of the problems that we're in right now, I know there's not a show where we talk about politics or religion too much, but the only thing that solves all the problems we're in right now is more philosophy and is more people seeking wisdom and the truth and seeking the good, and knowing what that really means in a tangible way. And so that's another reason why I wanted to make the show. I wanted to make the show that I could sneak by sleeping dragons is the quote, C.S. Lewis quote. I can get my philosophy out there, but it's wrapped in a comedic hilarity. But then I get to make little points here and there. And if you listen to a few episodes, pretty soon I have you with my philosophical mumbo jumbo. So that's full admission. That's the whole purpose of the show.
Who would you put as the greatest philosophical comedian? Carlin?
Oh my goodness. Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
For sure. Hands down, okay. Shakespeare. Goethe, who's the German equivalent. I think
Voltaire.
Voltaire, sure. I think Oscar Wilde.
Yeah.
And Oscar Wilde was also quite witty, quite good. But Shakespeare, hands down, is a bit of a philosopher. And not a lot of people realize. Sadly, not a lot of people learn Shakespeare very well anymore because the language is too many centuries out of date.
Yeah.
But he was a genius. He was brilliant.
But people do try to update the movies for Shakespeare and we're going to take this modern twist to it. I mean, if they don't know the language of it already, it's going to hard just even if you put Ethan Hawke as Hamlet. It's
right. Yeah. You need to buy the I think it's the Norton edition that has all the footnotes for all the dirty jokes and explains to you what a fishmonger is and explains to you, that was a vagina joke. It explains to you all the different things, and then you're like, oh, that was really funny. That was a dirty joke with a 7-meaning statement of politics and religion, and like Shakespeare is just brilliant. Hands down. If I was going to be sent to jail, I would want the Norton edition of Shakespeare, the full collected works. That could satisfy me for a good 3 years easily, just reading that whole thing.
Do you get to pick what you take with you to jail?
I don't know.
I don't think it works that way. I think you're getting a ripped up magazine.
I think it might be pretty high to smuggle in there.
Yes.
The Norton edition is very thick, so
that keeps other stuff from getting in there.
Hopefully, I guess.
That's the barricade. So would you consider weed the steroids of philosophy?
Some drugs, any alcohol, any drug, anything that changes your perceptions, obviously can have you. Part of the philosophical experience is to try and change your perceptions. But the purpose of philosophy is not to issue witticisms. Changing your perceptions is the start of wisdom. It's not the end of wisdom.
Moderation.
I mean, that. Thank you. That's Aristotle, right? Of course, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
It's. I don't eschew it in any way.
Nate, you had no clue that was Aristotle.
A little bit. I did in a way.
You took that win that you didn't deserve.
No. Listen. As a comic, I know little about a lot of things.
Yeah. No, come on. You were standing in line at some kid's birthday party and somebody accidentally handed you a piece of cake like you were supposed to be there.
Nope.
Aristotle? Sure, I'll take it.
The key point is moderation. Just, if you're going to experience, a different thought process, don't do it continuously. Don't be high all the time because you're not going to have other different thought processes go into it. So
right. You're not going to be able to finish. And I mean that in numerous ways.
Yeah.
And that's the point that people have forgotten about philosophy is that, and which the PhDs in all the academies right now want us to forget is that you're supposed to come to a conclusion. The philosophy department is supposed to end itself and become part of the education department. There is nothing left to figure out. It's not supposed to be an ongoing discussion where we needlessly argue about jargon down whether or not 97 angels could dance on the head of a pin. That's just people wasting taxpayer dollars trying to maintain tenure and jobs. Mm-hmm. So so philosophy is supposed to come to a conclusion and then turn around and make good on the contract it has with politics that allows it to exist in the first place, and to question it by fixing it, by saying no, this is what's wrong. You need to do this, and this for these reasons. And that's the arrangement. And that's one of the reasons why they killed Socrates, because he kept saying the emperor had no clothes in ancient Athens, and the emperor didn't like that. And so they put him on trial. And he said, well, this is the purpose of philosophy. I'm supposed to tell you have no clothes. I'm supposed to tell you what's wrong with what's going on. The problem is you're not listening. And so that's a different problem, of course, that politics doesn't want to listen to philosophy. But at some point, philosophy is supposed to end itself. And okay, we've decided, here it is. Here's morality. Here's justice. Here's love. Here's beauty. Here's all these important things. Now go do it. It's what we're supposed to. And every generation needs to do that, of course. It's not just my generation and it's solved and done. Every generation needs to discover for itself what all these important human concepts are. And so that's the trick.
All right.
Bill Hicks, Ron Prateep brought up Bill Hicks, who I think is, kind of a philosopher of his time, as to where he did have a lot of points on politics, on a lot of hard subjects, but with a very comedic way, but also really getting his point across. Mm-hmm. Unlike Carlin, who got a little preachy towards the end, a little too much, and he forgot the humor and was more, here's my message. But I've also forgot.
Nowadays you need that comedy to keep people's attention?
Yeah. You need that farce, that pie in the face. Just say, okay, look at this. Now here's the actual message.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's why I made the show that I did. I'm subtly inserting philosophy into the conversation. It's wrapped in these nice comedic bubbles of philisms, but then I'm preaching the truth. I'm speaking the truth, right? If I was Carlin and I had that kind of an audience and I had done the comedy first and I could afford to opine, I could and might, but the problem again, of course, is, and this goes all the way back to Plato, he used a cave metaphor in Book 7 of the Republic. There's two things holding the human species back. It's like we live in a cave and all the political ideas, like our social media, is streamed in front of us, kind of like a movie. And there's two things holding us from noticing it's all bullshit. One, boards of habituation. We're habituated to our lives. We're habituated to our positions. And the second one, which is the important one for this conversation, is the chains of moral indignation. When Carlin started getting people to rattle those chains of moral indignation too much, sadly, then his message might be a little bit lost. So there's a fine line and I've often thought, because, I've written a number of manuscripts that could be books. If anybody wants them, they can read them. They're as big as books, but I've never published them, so technically they're manuscripts. That, some are angry sounding, some are like emergency sounding, like, hey, climate change. I'm not, like, my one book, The Zombies, I'm not self-peddling what climate change is doing, and I'm explaining what actually will probably happen. And that is way too much for most people to handle. Way too much. When I start presenting the facts of what actually has happened and is probably going to happen much faster than these conservative 100-year estimates, no more like 30 probably, people's eyes glaze over. And so I'm like, this doesn't seem to way. They're too scared. The head right in the sand. Like, this is not accomplishing my goal of educating people. So then I make this comedy show where I just drip out little bits and get people interested. But, to tell you the truth, I'm not entirely sure what the end game is. Like, do I make a cult? Do I become some kind of religious leader? What am I supposed to do here? I feel like, do you guys know the myth of Cassandra?
Not without 5 minutes on Google.
Cassandra was the daughter of King Priam, who was the king of the Trojans.
Okay.
Her brother was Paris, who stole Helen of Troy from the Greeks, from the Hellenes, and the Hellenes came over to kill them because they stole this girl from them. And Cassandra was beautiful, of course, so the myth goes. And Apollo wanted to make love with her, but she spurned Apollo because she was a good girl, and she's like, "No, I'm not making love with you." So Apollo, like all the Greek gods, were kind of dicks, and decided to curse Cassandra. And Apollo cursed her that she could tell the future. But the curse was that because she was a girl, no one would ever listen to her. And so she knew that the Greeks were going to win. She knew that they're going to put a Trojan horse in there. She told her father, Priam, "Daddy, we're going to lose this war." And Priam said, "Oh, nonsense. My daughter knows not what she's talking about. We have walls that are 80 feet high and 80 feet thick. They've never been breached. There's no way the Greeks are getting in here. Impossible." And sure enough, 20 years later, they did defeat the Trojans and sack the city. Cassandra ended up being a slave and killed herself in Agamemnon's castle. And of course, all the Trojans were dead. I kind of feel like Cassandra. I can see my education, just from dumb luck, has shown me exactly historically how we've gotten from all the way from Plato 2,500 years ago to this point. Literally. Like that, and I'm not bragging. It's not, anyone could read what I've read and know what I know, right? Mm-hmm. Just luck that I read the right things to see, oh, this is how reality actually works. This is how politics really works. This is how economics really works. It's actually just the rich, and always has been throughout history. No surprise. They just deflect, right? Just like, oh, it's a French Revolution. People are getting upset. It's these guys over here. You know, that's what the rich do. They're money addicts, and they deflect. And the reason why they run the place is because money has power, right? If they were cheese addicts, then they would just be from Wisconsin or something. Right? If they were alcoholics, then they would be from Wisconsin. You have no power with alcohol unless you're in Ireland or Scotland or something. So because they're money addicts and money has all the power, and they can't stop going after money, like Jeff Bezos, for example. Why do you need $1 trillion? Why is that necessary? You could never spend it. You could never ever spend that much money, but he's addicted, right? He just can't stop getting the money, getting the power, getting the prestige. They're all addicted, right?
Watch that cheat shit, Ron says.
So this is, I mean, when you read actually how the world has actually worked and what's called the Republic of Letters of these educated people throughout history talking to each other, it's very clear how the rich have just run the whole thing the time. They run a society into the ground like Rome. They build another one. They run the society in the ground, they build another one. They run the society in the ground, they build another one. This has happened like 300 times. I have a chart in my book of all the societies that have died in Western civilization. It's over 500 or something like that. And it just plays out again and again and again. This is exactly what's playing out right now. They run the society in the ground. The economy and the ecology is run in such a way for short-term gains and not long-term benefits. So all the money accrues to the top, the middle class disappears, and the society destroys itself because of byproducts such as pollution, right? Okay. On Easter Island, they cut down all the trees because they didn't know what else to do. They burned them all, and then they died, right? Because they ran out of trees. It's the same thing. We've run out of trees. We've run out of ground. The earth, we literally can produce so much waste. We've literally polluted the earth to the point where we're going to change the ecosystem that little third world pockets are going to grow in size to inflate over the entire country. So in 30 years, it's going to be like you live in Fallujah, just except of Arabs, Muslim Arabs, you're going to be living with right-wing radical Christians. That's all. That's the only difference. It'll be equally as hot. You'll have equal lacking access to education. You're going to have equal lacking access to hospital care. These are facts, right? These are not the rantings of a crazy man. Ask any scientist who's not gagged to talk about it, and they'll tell you, right? So the problem is that I've seen all this. I know this is all going to happen. Maybe not in 30 years, maybe 40 years. Fine. 50 years. I don't care. I know it's going to happen, right? I know what causes it, and I know how to fix it. But nobody listens, and I'm on a comedy podcast. Right?
There you go. And it's been hilarious. Why don't we get Thanks.
So that's my mission. And so I always wonder, should I go with a shotgun on the top of the roof and start shooting at people, and that's how I'll get my message out? Like, I'm not really sure. Oh. What's the best way to get this message out?
What a wonderful world.
Yes.
or stay alive enough to watch everything unfold.
Yeah, we
Then
need
you
the
sh-
Wild Stallions. Ron's
Then
right.
you do the shotgun.
The Wild Stallions. All right, let's do a little bit of shortened version of your podcast. Now, do you ask questions or do you write statements? Because I have questions, I can easily turn them to statements.
So my podcast is centered around a topic. So, for example, we'd be like, today's topic is what is love, and we talk about. I'll try to talk about that, and then Phil will jump in. And
Nate, you will jump in, and then we'll declare a winner. So. Here we go. All right. You guys getting ready?
Sure.
Residing from the Shire Middle Earth, coming in at 4'7", weighing 495 pounds. And for our Canadian friends, that is a shit ton of kilograms. He's the fifth Ghostbuster, the Gem State Nightmare, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, the Amish-faced potato eater, your friendly neighborhood hobbit, world famous comic Nate Ford. And his challenger, some guy from Canada named Jim. All right, let's get going.
that is about right.
Doesn't matter. Nate's got the home field advantage. Is it worse to fail at something or never attempt it in the first place?
It depends what it is.
I find that if you fail, you can learn from that and try to do it better next time, or not do it at all, because you learn, like, hey, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be, ice skating at my condition or something like that. But I feel like, with comedy, it's a trial and error basis, day in and day out. I'm still learning today after 20 years into it. I'll come up against an audience that I haven't come up against before, like, oh, well, shit, like, all right, I gotta rethink things and adjust things. So I find failing helps me out more than actually succeeding.
Nate, we have a philosopher to do that, and I'm giving the point to Josh here.
I didn't even have to say anything at all.
There you go.
That's great.
All right, Nate, you're down. You got to do the funny. You got to be the comic. Just go off the rails, man. All right. What is true happiness?
Pizza.
There you go, Nate. You're starting to get it.
True happiness is both an activity and an emotion of joy. It's when all your needs are met and you're living the eudaimonious life.
Like when I'm eating pizza, I'm enjoying that moment, and that brings me happiness.
But what happens when the pizza is done, my friend?
Then there's ice cream to the side.
and what happens when the ice cream is done?
The other pizza.
Then I cry myself to sleep.
There you go. My case in point. So happiness is not that. Happiness is the state where over a long term, all your needs are met. So the key there is to this is hypothetical philosophical talk, but hypothetically speaking, one would contract some of those needs or wants, and maybe adopt other needs or wants that are not don't have the peaks and valleys of desire or satisfaction, as Augustine said, or Saint Augustine to the Catholics.
So then could that brings
Moderation,
me to another question would be, can there be, you're talking about peaks and valleys, can there be good without evil?
Of course there can.
Then how would you know what good is without the contrast?
Because the good is the good. The good is the only thing there is. Evil is just a vacuum of goodness. I'll prove it. So when your friend, let's say you need to sleep over at a friend's house, and he only has a crappy, half blown up air mattress for you to sleep on. And he says, and tell me if you've ever heard this statement before. This statement makes sense to you. He says, I know it's not ideal, but blah, 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 blah. Have you ever heard that before? Does that sentence make sense to you?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Why does that sentence make sense to you? How?
Every time Molly pulls her pants down. I know it's not ideal, but you can get by.
But it's all that I have, and I'm giving that to you.
You're gonna get. It's better than nothing on a cold, rainy night.
I'm just gonna skate right by that one. Because the concept of the ideal, the concept of the good is self-evident. Every human being knows about it. No one had to teach you what the ideal was, and no one had to teach your friend that he's supposed to seek the ideal. He already knew that the ideal is the ideal, right? What's optimal is what is optimal. Why do we seek what's optimal? Because it's fucking optimal. That's why you seek what's optimal. Why do you seek what's ideal? Because it's ideal. There's nothing better than it. It's the ideal. That's the good, right? It's the morality that's built into every language, the morality that's built into every human that we already know and has just been destroyed by monotheism that decided to put a personality and a beard on it and has been dominating us for 2,500 years. Oops, sorry, not supposed to talk about religion. That's where it originally came from, was Plato. And then they just took Plato, and as a philosopher said, Christianity is nothing but Platonism for the masses, with a nice place you end up when you're dead and a big guy in the sky who's going to help you when the bullies are bullying you. So but it's the good at the end of the day.
What about the stuff that sucks that people think is good, like caviar?
Well, the good is relatively objective. So just like gravity is relative, even though just like gravity is an objective concept, but it's relative to the observer, the good is objective, but it's relative to the observer.
So let's say masturbation. It's good. It feels good. But then you cry afterwards because you were taught that it was evil. Is in fact, would that religion aspect of everything be evil as it is because it's making me cry for doing such a good thing that I like to do?
Obviously, yes. If it's not hurting anybody and it's good for you, if those are big ifs, capital I, if it's not hurting anybody and if it's good for you, if it helps maintain your hormone levels over time and it's not hurting anybody else, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. That's a classic example of another thing that Plato talked about, again in the Republic, which is in Book 8, called The Digression of the Regimes. Take Bruce Lee, for example. Bruce Lee was a martial artist.
I can take Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee or John Jones or Anderson Silva, these are true martial artists who know the art well enough they can improvise, right? They don't have to follow the forms or the kata as they were shown. They make the forms or the kata. The problem is that the student who's not as genius as Bruce Lee or John Jones, they're students, they don't know the real principles of why that makes a good punch or it doesn't. And so all they can do is desperately cling on to the katas and follow the katas because they don't truly understand.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happened with the good. We have people who don't truly understand the good and why it's good, and they made up stories about it, and they make improper rules about it, and they get confused, and that's why they tell someone that, any sexual feelings at all are bad and you should not have them. That's not true at all. Too many sexual feelings are bad, and when it's leading into too many bad situations, that's bad. But there's a happy medium there that one would do well to seek, regardless of what the rules say. Fuck the rules. Fuck the rules.
So I should masturbate in Starbucks.
That's going to hurt numerous people and offend numerous people. So
and scar lots of children.
And scar lots of children. So obviously that would be a no. That would not be good.
Nate made both walls. Do not let in and do not accept checks from. Same picture. All right, we're gonna end it there. I think we're all tied up, so I don't want to get anybody mad. Because Nate, I really don't think you won. This guy was quoting everything.
Josh totally won. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Damn it, Nate. Off the Rails is for winners. Take your unfunny ass and get the fuck out of here.
Listen here, sir.
No, stay.
I'm tickling your balls right now. All right.
Hey, that's good.
See,
that's good.
A win-win.
It's a win-win. How about a quick Google rant? Can we get one of those in from you?
Sure.
All right.
So everybody knows that Google steals your personal information and sluts it out to all the other members of the FANG. The FANG is the new richest companies in the world. It's Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. And they all share marketing data with which they use with Barnesian psychology tactics taken from Bernays' uncle, Freud. Sigmund Freud was literally Bernays' uncle. Everyone out there should watch the documentary, The Century of the Self. It's free on YouTube, The Century of the Self. It's actually a very good documentary. It's not boring at all. You should watch it. It's the quickest thing you could watch to clearly understand the shit show, the unrepentant capitalism shit show that we're in right now. that is going to destroy us within about 30 years, as I said. So if you want to know who's killing you and how, that's the back philosophy on it. I forgot how I got into that particular diatribe.
You said Fang.
Yes, thank you. So oil used to be the richest commodity and had been for the 20th century to perpetuate, again, just the economic model. Now data is the most lucrative commodity. And they use sneaky, tricky psychological tactics to make you buy even more with this personal data. That's why it's so lucrative. That's why it's so expensive, because with it, they can literally raise profits by double digits by psychologically manipulating you to an even more egregious degree. That's what I meant by slaves. We're wage slaves. We're willing wage slaves, right? Our wages are too low for us. Why is it that for us to want to live somewhere, we have to borrow money from a bank? Why are houses that expensive that we don't get to live anywhere unless some richer motherfucker says so? Why is that, right? Because we're wage slaves, because the rich run the whole thing. They always have. Except for those rare periods where the French rose up and cut off their head. That'd be
cool.
Yeah, that's impossible now, by the way. The military technology is far too powerful. There's no way we could ever rise up. I don't care how many amendments you have on your constitution and how many AR-15s you have. You cannot even come close to taking that army on. You wouldn't even see them. They'd blow you up from Predator drones from miles away. So there's no way we can militarily rise up against the rich now, and the rich know it. The only way we can do it is through political will. And they've got that almost on lock. I mean, they've had their political puppet in there for the last 4 years. And the real reason why Trump was allowed to become president was just so he could remove environmental protections so that his cronies could become more and more rich, right? When he's doing this stuff over here with smoke screens, and it doesn't matter, it's just Trump doing stupid stuff. Over here, he's actually getting rid of EPA protections and doing stuff like that. And that's actually how that works, and how that Manchurian candidate was allowed to get into office. So that's the state we're in. Yay.
You know who I blame? I blame the person who put pineapple on pizza. We should go back in time, kill that person, and all will be right in the world.
There you go.
I take pineapple on pizza over anchovies.
No, but I'm sorry. What was your original question? So Fang was how I started.
I just said, here's some time to rant on Google. And
you're right. Yes. So Google is one of the Fang, right? And everyone thinks that the private information they steal is the biggest problem. It's not. It's not at all. It's that Google has also become the Better Business Bureau for the world. They literally decide what businesses live or die. Small mom and pops, small to medium businesses, they can literally bankrupt them overnight by deciding who gets to rank on page 1 of Google, right? And that's because I see it weekly. People are emailing me weekly, Josh, I'm losing my business. I don't know what to do. Help me. Because that's how I pay the bills. No one cares about my philosophical points of view, obviously. What they pay me for is reverse engineering Google's algorithms. That's what I do. So I have people emailing me on a weekly basis. The small mom and pops are losing their businesses because they used to be on page 1 of Google. Google used to think they were a good business, and then Google decided they weren't a good business, that they were spam, and that they moved them off of page 1. Google is not a search engine. Google is a censorship engine. Google censors at least 99.9% of all web pages out there. Now, a lot of those web pages we'd all agree with. A lot of it's child porn. A lot of it is credit card information being shared. A lot of it is black web stuff that we probably all agree we don't want on the front-facing internet. Although maybe some of us are libertarian and we'd say, fuck it, put it all there. Maybe we would. I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that Google is a private, for-profit, Silicon Valley, left-leaning, untouchable private company. That's why I use Bing. Yeah. Microsoft is just as bad, I'm afraid. Good jokes, but Microsoft is just as bad, I'm afraid. And that we have no control over whatsoever, right? We have no control over what Google does. And so if they decide that you're like 10 years ago, if you did a search for plaid shirts, you got a bunch of mom and pops in your area. Yeah. Now all you get is big brands. That's it. And they literally consciously made this decision, right? Eric Schmidt was their CEO. He was the CEO of Novell Networks for some time. They brought him in to be the CEO of Google 10, 15 years ago. And he said, and I quote, "Brands are not the problem. Brands are the solution, brands are how we clean up the cesspool of the internet," end quote. So all of us poor people, all of us middle class people, all of us people trying to start a small business, all of us people who have a mom and pop business, we are what he called the cesspool. And it's the old boys club again and again, right? It's a rich capitalistic company that's going to protect other rich capitalistic companies. It's the old gentleman's club. It's white supremacy mixed with rich supremacy, which goes hand in hand with American supremacy. The three circles, right? They go hand in hand. So that's the problem with, that's my Google rant, is that people don't even realize. Yeah, they're not only do they steal our personal information to sell to us better, and maybe boo on us that we can't outthink their tactics, but they literally decide they're the Better Business Bureau now with there's no oversight over them. There's no governmental oversight. They have governments in their pocket. And they get to decide what businesses get to live or die. So let's say you have a dream of having a business. Google says, nope. And you don't get to have that business anymore. That's just the way it is. And there are no alternatives.
I know what you mean. Like, I'm fighting hand to hand, getting my name out there, Nate Ford. But this Timothy Hutton, Nate Ford leverage character keeps popping up more. And so I'm just going back and forth with that for the TV show Leverage because Nate Ford.
It used to be worse. It used to be. I totally. Yeah, Nate Ford is a very common name. I'm sure there's a lot of people. There's only one other guy named Josh Bachynski, some poor asshole in Calgary. And you literally, when you search my name, you can see Josh Bachynski TED Talk, Josh Bachynski documentary, Josh Bachynski SEO, Josh Bachynski Calgary. Because some people are looking for this Josh in Calgary, right? This poor guy. But yeah, it used to be worse, right? Google had made the decision about 7 years ago, that if they found any dirt about you, that should be public knowledge because they're dicks. And so if you had a DUI, if anything bad had ever happened that they found, they would put that like second listing. People would search your name. That would be the second thing up. And that literally caused the European Union to define a new human right. They literally went to the books and defined a new human right called the right to be forgotten, where it's the political system that gets to decide what length of penalties are made, not Google. Google doesn't get to put a digital dunce cap on your head forever because they run the internet, because the gray hairs in office don't understand how the internet works. So the European Union sued them, has sued them for many billions of dollars for many reasons. The European Union is the only other group on the planet who really understands what I'm talking about. And they sued them for hundreds of billions of dollars, but Google has the best lawyers on the planet, so they always get by, they always sneak by, right? No changes are made. But that was one win where the European Union said, probably because Google said this is probably bad optics for us. Fine, we'll take off the DUIs, we'll take off the bad news, and they'll just do that now for conservative things. For Trump, they clearly have a bias for liberal, to promote liberal scenarios and politics and whatnot, and to show the negative side of Trump. But let me actually show you this other example. If everybody searches professional haircut, you see the images that come up. Unless they've fixed it since I've said this. You guys, everyone can do this right now. Search professional haircut and see the images that come up. And then search unprofessional haircut and see the images that come up. And unless they fixed it, you can very clearly see, again, the white supremacy, rich supremacy bias in there.
Oh!
Do you see the difference?
Oh, yeah.
One of these things does not belong here. Google,
oh my God!
Google has a bit of a
okay.
Professional
haircut. Okay, now do unprofessional. Wow, that's a whole different tint.
That's a whole nother bag right there. Google, to defend Google for a second, because I know exactly how their algorithms work. We're very close because people pay me to reverse engineer them. They're only working with the data set they have. If the world is racist, then the internet is racist. The internet is actually extra racist because there's no penalties for being as racist and as mean there as you want to be. There's no one's there with a digital fist to punch you in the nose when you're getting out of line. All the normal human checks and balances don't exist on the internet. You can opine and say whatever you want. So the internet, of course, is going to be extra racist. And that's the data set that Google has to work with. And so they continuously have to unracist the racist internet because the optics look bad on their search engine. And it's not really that they are trying to make Trump look so stupid. It's just that the liberals are talking about how stupid he is, and that's what everyone talks about. So that's what their algorithms represent. Their AI is about as smart as a 2-year-old right now. It doesn't get optics, right? It's like
just getting whatever is feeding into it.
exactly. It's word relations, right? The word relations are related to these pictures, rightly or wrongly, justly or not, and so that's why those pictures show up there. And then they've got to literally manually go in and patch it, and they're playing catch up all the time. There's so many bad optics that I could show you that keep going and going, right? That they have to manually try to patch, and it's so. To defend Google a bit, that's what they're up against. But at the same time, it shouldn't be a private for-profit company that everyone uses as a search engine. The internet is now a utility. That's just the way it is. It's not the 90s anymore. It's not a luxury. The internet's a utility, right? And so the search engine for the internet, Google, shouldn't be a private for-profit company. It as much as it would make me puke, and it makes us all puke, it has to be government run, or at least it should be not-for-profit. Because real serious voting stuff could be modified there. Truth can be modified there. Businesses get run right out of town and don't get to live there anymore. It's literally an extortion racket. Google says the only way you can get back into Google is by their ads. And that's how Google makes 95% of their money, by the way. Forget YouTube, forget Google Glasses, forget their self-driving cars. All of those other initiatives have failed. The only way Google makes their money is those little ads in Google that people click, that they make look more and more like the organic results every day. So you can't tell. Like ad is, it's like 2-point font. You can't tell it's an ad, and there's like 8 ads on the front page and there's 1 organic result, where it used to be 10 organic results and 0 ads. It used to be, right? Of course, that's how they start. They start every company, these Silicon Valley companies, they start like Facebook. Oh, we love people and we're making it all left wing and free and blah, blah. Google's not free. Facebook and Google are not free at all. You pay for Google and Facebook, because they charge advertisers. And what do you think advertisers are going to do? You think the CEOs and the shareholders are going to take a hit and go, oh, well, I guess Google gets that 10% of our revenue? No, they make you pay more, right? They raise the prices on stuff and in shady ways, and they make you pay more. Maybe not for this product, but this product over here gets more, right? Until they run all the small mom and pops out of town. Sorry, go ahead.
So what I got to do is have everybody Google that Comic Nate Ford is the best stand-up comic out there. Just Google it, get the word out there, and the algorithm will pick it up. Yes, he's the best stand-up comic out there. Yes. And eventually I'll get booked more because people are like, who's this guy? But he's clearly the best stand-up out there.
If you find a page that says that, if you make a page that says that and you get enough people to search it, it will become one of the auto-suggest options, yes.
There we go, Nate. I said it like 9 times on this podcast. Good to go. All right, Josh, where do we find your other podcast? We'll wrap this show up and come back for some more fun.
Sure. So if you love the hilarity I'm talking about, I'm actually sorry, I'm in a bad mood. I guess I'm being much more serious than I normally am. But if you want a more comedic slant, and you want to see me try to debate a comic who doesn't care about any of this, and I never get to talk about any of this, I make very small philosophical points. It's bit.ly/comic versus philosopher. Or just search for Comic versus Philosopher on Apple Podcasts, for example. You should be able to find it. The only platform we're having trouble right now with is Stitcher. For some reason, Stitcher is not working, but I have to fix that. But that's where you could hear more of the hilarity.
All right, Nate, you got something else coming up this week.
This weekend I'll be in Colorado, Castle Rock, Colorado. It's a little outside of Denver. I'm at the Burley Brewing Company with Manuel Christopher Michael Vera. You can find all of my information at Comic Nate Ford, either on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And that's about it. That's all I have.
Excellent. Hey.
This goddamn pandemic.
I know. Go check us out on Patreon. Like, share, do all the stuff. Search every one of us on Google a bunch of times tonight. That'll help out. And we'll take 5, then we'll take 5 again, do a little 10-minute break, come back for some bonus. Everybody sound cool with that? I'm cool. All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you very much. Check out Comic versus Philosopher. Is there a little thing under there? See who wins it.
It's on the top of everything.
Maybe. I don't know. My employee.
Comic versus Philosopher. That's all you got to type in. You'll find it.
Comic versus Philosopher. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. And remember, universe, we're not good enough.
Thanks for tuning in, universe.